Okay, so true parents course. Um, they are more like I want to talk about the principle. Um, this is a introduction, Reverend Koch's 7-day workshop or Reverend Koch's true parents course introduction. Okay. So in the exposition of the divine principle, there are discussions starting from the introduction to the section on the second advent. True Father once said, the history of Unification Church and the history of Father needed to be included in the principle, in the principle book, right? We find that there are discussions on Moses and Jesus in the providence of restoration from divine principle viewpoint. So we see we can understand Moses' course and the Jesus course, because we have the divine principle, right? So we know how we should understand, their course or what they did, right? Therefore, we also need to discuss the providence of restoration centered on true parents from the perspective of the divine principle. So we need to see the true parents course from the principle viewpoint, right? By doing so, we can understand what kind of life true parents have experienced and who true parents are. Furthermore, we can understand how we should live in order to inherit true parents' realm of victory. So, let's see what's next. Yeah. So, like this is the introduction. We know that a lot of things happening. Well, we witnessed many things with true parents, and of course, before we know, many things happen, right? So many things, so many events. But if we do not have some kind of a perspective to understand it, so we don't really understand what is going on, right? Therefore, we need to have some kind of principle viewpoint. Then actually, like the Father said, the divine principle only explained up until Jesus' life, but it did not explain about what followed after Jesus. It did not teach about Father. Therefore, there are many things that you really need to study. Of course, divine principle. In the divine principle book, we don't study Father's course. Then the Father said, basically, divine principle is teaching until Jesus' time, right? So that means that divine principle is focusing on, divine principle means those exposition of the divine principle, that book, focusing on how to receive the Messiah, right? Then basically, that book did not explain almost at all how to live with true parents, or after we receive the Messiah, what kind of providence will be happening. That the exposition of the divine principle did not explain that part, right? So there must be an addition to the divine principle. It must have a history of Unification Church and the history of Father. Right. So we need to really understand our providence, right now, including right now, from the certain perspective, divine principle perspective. Okay, so unification principle is a record of my life. It is my life experience. This unification principle is in me, and I am in the unification principle. Therefore, the only way for people to truly understand me and my actions is through the unification principle. Right? Makes sense, yeah? Only by learning the unification principle and studying it can you understand me. The more you study the principle, the more you will come to understand me. So we may understand, that the event, event that happened, centering on true parents, many amazing stories and testimonies, and we can hear a lot of testimonies from the people who are with true parents, then a lot of explanations, right? However, that the restoration goes with the certain principle, very much precise principle is behind. So if we do not know that, then we may not understand the true parents' cause. Right? One lonely person discovered all the secrets behind human history, true father. Then not only did I organize and systemize them into divine principle, but also put them in practice with my life. That's developing this movement until today. So Father was really following the divine principle, according the restoration principle. So that is his life, and that is our church history, right? So then basically, that's why we need to know the principle. If we do not know the divine principle, probably we have no idea. Could be impressive, when we read the father's autobiography or true mother's autobiography, very impressive, amazing, great, right? But, if you do not know the principle, then probably you don't understand, or we do not understand the depth of the true parents' cause, right? So, Father lived that principle. Yeah. So when we understand the principle, then we can understand the Father more deeply. Okay, the road of restoration follow the precise formula, right? Precise divine principle, and the true Father must pioneer that formula. In order to gain the same result, all you have to do is to understand it well and live your life by applying it. So when we understand the true parents' cause that way, with the divine principle perspective, then we can apply it. Father is asking us to apply, or Father many times said we have to follow true parents. How we can follow, right? So actually, it's amazingly, when we heard about the tribal Messiah, which was the declared, or we got the mission of the tribal Messiah on the Chiru Irijol. We celebrated yesterday, Chiru Irijol, 1991. That was yesterday. So that is the day, July 1st, 1991. So we all had the mission, or received the mission as the tribal Messiah. And how we can achieve our mission as a tribal Messiah, right? So we need to understand the true parents' cause, actually, from the divine principle viewpoint. So tribal messiahship, first generation, second, third. So, basically, if we are with true parents and doing the restoration course, then that's our, way to live, basically. All right. So, so today, maybe in a few times, including today, I want to talk about this: the right of the elder son, the right of the parents, the right of the king. So Father's course is the restoration of these. So, maybe some of you already had this, but I want to go pretty slowly and explain, more. Okay, so if you remember, this is a diagram I used, a lot of times, last 6 or 7 times, right? Adam and Eve's original cause, then Jesus came, that Jesus reached, Jesus became the Messiah, means Jesus reached the individual perfection, right? Otherwise, that can't be the Messiah. So basically, divine principle explained until here. So, how to receive the Jesus, how to receive the Messiah, that's what the divine principle taught. However, the divine principle even did not talk about the Jesus bride, right? Father talked about the bride of Jesus in the original divine principle, but it's not in the exposition of the divine principle. Then now we have a true father and a true mother. And so they had the marriage supper of the Lamb. So divine principle did not touch this part, right? So therefore, in order to understand their cause, we need a little bit more than the exposition of the divine principle. A little bit more. The divine principle book, that is a basic base, that's a basic. If we don't know that, then you don't know anything. But we need to know a little bit more than that in order to understand the true parents' cause. Right? So that is these three: right of elder son, right of parents, right of king. I mean, this is one of them. So this is something like I need to explain today and then maybe next a few times, right? So this is the original cause, I don't know. You may wonder why we have these lines after we enter into the direct dominion, always I use this diagram because I use this diagram, even though we don't talk about this one, nothing, but there is some cause after you reach their perfection. Okay, so the simply speaking, Adam and Eve, if Adam and Eve reach their perfection, then they have to get married, then become a husband and a wife, then they become a parents. Then they establish the right of parents. And actually, this right of elder son means, that by achieving the individual perfection, so they can claim that they established the right of elder son. Anyway, that's the same thing, right? And after that reach their perfection, they become husband and wife, they became the parents, and they raise the children, and the children get blessed, right? So then that's how they establish the right of parents. Then after that, 3 generations established, and they take care of their world, and they take care of the angelic world also. That's how they can claim they are the king. Establishment of the right of king. So this one. So this is the original cause. Of course, I'm going to explain this one more, right? But this is as I said, Adam and Eve was supposed to go through this, until the establishment of the right of king. Then after they achieve this, then they can go to the spirit world. They can die anytime, So, but they did not do anything. They could not achieve anything. So before they achieved their individual perfection, they fell. That's why true parents came. True parents came as the new Adam and the new Eve. Then what they need to do is that they need to do what Adam and Eve could not do 6,000 years ago, right? So that is their cause, right? Then their cause, this is their cause. They are re-establishing or restoring the right of elder son and the right of parent and the right of king, which Adam and Eve could not establish. So those things are lost to Satan. Therefore, true parents had to restore those 3. Then this restoration cause became a little bit complicated than the original cause, So that's why we have this one, right of Adam and Eve, restoration of the right of Adam and Eve. I need to explain later about this one, but basically, right, these 3 major things: elder sonship, right of parents, and the right of king. Yeah. So if we do not know this, then we cannot really see the true parents' cause, because basically okay, like this. 1960, right? We already talked about this a lot of times. Marriage supper of the Lamb in 1960, right? So this marriage, true parents' marriage, was based on their achievement of the right of elder son. You know? But that is the top of the growth stage. Somehow, when we study the divine principle, you know, the Adam and Eve fell at the top of the growth stage here, you know, so because they could not achieve the right of elder son. So therefore, the true parents course, they need to achieve, they needed to achieve the right of elder sonship. Then based on that, they can get the true marriage centering on God, which is the restoration of Adam and Eve's failure, or like indemnifying the Adam and Eve's failure. You know, that's why this is the top, you know, the level is top of the growth stage, right? But we need to know this, we need to know this one. As an individual human being, in order for them to get married, right, they have to be here, right? Individual, spiritual level, right? They are perfected people. Perfected man and a perfected woman get married, right? That is, you know, for the first time in the human history, that is the marriage supper of the Lamb. However, when we look at the restoration course, right, their marriage in 1960 is here, top, you know, providentially, that is on the top of the growth stage. Yeah. Maybe like later on, like we can talk about this more, right? So then, let's see. Then another marriage, 2003. Maybe if you heard my lecture many times, then you know, we talked about this many times too. 2003, this is the second holy wedding of their true parents, right? So this, this one, in order to reach this, you know, true parents need to restore this one, right of Adam and Eve, like to be the true Adam and the true Eve, and in order to do this, you know, that they needed to restore God to his original position, right? Here, 1960, God was not in his throne, right? Satan is the God of this world, right? Surrounded by Satan. Satan was the God, and nobody else knew God, right? Except true parents, basically, right? So that is just restoring or indemnifying Adam and Eve's failure. But originally, Adam and Eve was supposed to reach the perfection and get married, centering on God, blessed by all the angels too. Then there is no Satan, right? That kind of marriage was restored in 2003. So then, even after that, true parents has to go through their course, you know, restoration course. What is that? You know, even after that, basically, you know, usually we don't understand. We don't really understand the meaning of this, the second marriage, you know. I mean, usually, I don't know, many times, not so clear, right? But even after that, true parents had to go through the restoration course. Then what is that, you know? What is that? If we do not know the concept of the right of elder son, and after this, right of parents and the right of king, true parents need to restore those fully, right? If we do not understand that, then we have no idea what true parents did after 2000, you know? So then if we don't understand that, then we have no idea what is the foundation day here. 2013, 2013 here, right? 2013, already true father went to the spirit world. That's why we don't see the true parents of marriage again, you know? But like when we went to Korea to celebrate the foundation day, all the couple got the wedding dress and wedding suits and wedding dress, you know? 70 years old men and women wedding, 80 years old men and women have a wedding dress, right? Then they get blessed by a true parents, right? Well, what is that? You know? So anyway, so that what is the significance of that, right? So if we do not understand these kind of principle perspective, then we have no idea, right? So you know, that only after we understand this kind of principle, and somehow even this is a very simple, super simple way to look at the true parents course. But you know, if we know only this, then we may understand some kind of very significant meaning of the foundation day. You know, so we are now we are in 2020 after the foundation day. You know, so if we do not understand the meaning of or significance of the foundation day, then how can we understand what we are doing right now? You know, so now like you know, the Christian leaders like Noel Jones, you know, really accept true mother and testifying. So he's a great John the Baptist. Now the Christianity is coming together before true parents. Then seems like that is the like restoring the situation of 1945 or 1952. At that time, if Christianity really united with true parents, right, that would be great. Then we never had that kind of situation. Then now we began to see that worldwide John the Baptist, Noel Jones, or Habede, you know, the prophet Habede, or those kind of people, right? Then, you know, when you look at the last internet rally, then, you know, some distinguished, that's pretty good people, you know, came and testified the true mother. Okay, then we're talking about something like that, right? Now Christianity came, you know, people began to receive the true parents as the Messiah, you know. Okay, so then in that case, what is the foundation day? Now, like we are talking about now, Christian foundation is coming together to receive the Messiah, you know. Okay, so then what is the foundation day? You know, what is the significance? Is that really the meaning, or like we need something like that? And after the Christianity came together, you know, before true parents, or you know, I don't know if you think that way, but when we are, you know, talking about that kind of incredible things, you know, then basically we really, I think sometimes or many times we don't really know what kind of place we are in the providential history. You know, what is the foundation day? What that happened 7 years ago. Then we have already 7 years has passed, centering on True Mother. You know, what's going on, right? So in order to understand that we need to understand this True Parents course. You know, even not to in detail, you know, however, certain, you know, kind of level of understanding is really needed. So then like we don't really wonder, you know, some people wonder, right? Then some people said, you know, there was no foundation day because the Father is in the spirit world. You know, some people say that, yeah, you know. Then some people said, oh no, Father passed, you know, Father could not reach their foundation day because we could not do that. Then providence failed. God's providence failed. That's why Father need to go to the spirit world. And there was no foundation day, you know. Of course, like we don't think so, but you know, some people say that, you know, that foundation was a fake, you know, that is no meaning or something like that. But they have no idea about this kind of providential, you know, history. Yeah, if we know clearly, you know, then it is amazing achievement in here, right? Basically, you know, we are looking at this, you know, True Parents course now, right now, you know, centering on this like a marriage, right? Marriage. Already 8 o'clock. Marriage, you know, 1960, 2003, and the Foundation Day. This is like a final kind of incredible God-centered holy wedding marriage here. Right. So, okay. So I want to explain this one. Okay. So basically, bit by bit. So in order to do that, then we need to go to this original Adam and Eve's course. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I'm not going to talk about these 8 stages. You know, Father was always many times talk about 8 vertical stages. This course is corresponding to the restoration of 8 stages like this. Okay, so sometime maybe I need to explain this one too, but if I speak about this one, then it's become too complicated. Then we don't do that now. Okay, so go back to the original. All right, this is the original, divine principle that we know from the exposition of the divine principle, right? Growing stage here, which is the indirect dominion, right? Growing period, formation stage, growth stage, completion stage, right? Adam and Eve were supposed to go through this growing period and reach perfection. Then after this one, right, they enter into their direct dominion. So basically, this is it, you know, in the exposition of the divine principle, right? But in order to understand the true father's cause or true parent's cause, this is not enough. So we need to look at this one. What happened after they enter into their God's direct dominion? Okay, so basically, right, when they got married or become husband and wife by God's blessing, then at that point they enter into their direct dominion. Okay. So then they enjoy the wife and husband relationship, right, centering on God, that they are already in God's direct dominion. That's why, like, when they conceive their baby, God is always there. God is with Adam and Eve. Then God gives their new life through Adam and Eve, right? The baby is God's baby. You know, so that is a God's plan. God is there in the direct dominion of God. I mean, they are with God 24 hours a day, or like every moment they are together with God, right? So then the way they conceive their baby, God is there always. That's why the baby is God's baby, you know? So their baby is born, then Adam and Eve is raising the baby, but God is always with Adam and Eve. So Adam and Eve can give the true God's love to the baby all the time and speaking the truth from God, right? Which is very much different from the Adam and Eve. When Adam and Eve was growing, they did not have such a parents, you know? So only they had the angels, archangels, right? So that's why, like, in one sense, Adam and Eve's course was tough. But actually, when they achieve it, once they enter into the direct dominion of God, then there was zero possibility of the fall, you know, the zero. I mean, how they can fall after that? No Satan, right? No Satan, no strange angels, and they are always with God. Then the kids are growing period, but they are receiving the directly, you know, God's love through Adam and Eve. You know, so that is a direct dominion. And even so, when they had the children, then Adam and Eve became the parents, and then they loved the children and grow them, right? Then they experience their parents' love a lot. Okay, then the kids grow up, then the kids get blessed, then it become a husband and a wife, right? So then they appreciate the parents more, you know. So they receive the true children's love from a kids when they got, you know, become a husband and a wife, right? So anyway, so that's how they experience this. So that they become parents. Then eventually they become king. They become their position become like God, right? King is like God. King is God, you know. So okay, so that's their course after they enter into God's direct dominion. Okay, so we're gonna read this is the divine principle about the direct dominion of God. Okay? Once Adam and Eve had perfected themselves as individuals centered on God, they were to live together as one, right? Wife and husband, forming the four-positional foundation in their family. Living in oneness with God's heart, they would have led a life of goodness, sharing the fullness of love and the beauty with Adam as the head of the family. So this is a divine principle explanation of the direct dominion of God. Right? This is a diagram. So that they forming the four-positional foundation, right, in their family. It's a family level four-positional foundation, which is the second blessing. Second blessing, family level four-positional foundation, right? So when they get married, Adam and Eve, then become husband and wife, right? They form the four-positional foundation here. This one, right? This one. The third object of God is not, if they have not if they don't have a child yet, but still they form the four-positional foundation, right? This union is the union of Adam and Eve. That is the third object of God. Okay, when those three become one, they are already forming the four-positional foundation. When you study the unification thought, this kind of four-position foundation is called identity maintaining four-position foundation. So like this union is a Adam and Eve's union. United Adam and Eve is here. Okay, that means when God is like dealing with Adam, right? Love Adam, but love Eve, right? But when Adam and Eve become together, completely become one, God loves that union, Adam and Eve both as a couple, right? That love is different from those, right? So they can be Adam and Eve, united Adam and Eve is the third object of God. Okay? That's a four-positional foundation. Then also that this is the original Trinity that the divine principle was talking about. When you study the Christology, original Trinity, right? This is the original Trinity. God and Adam and Eve become completely one, establish the original Trinity. Okay, so that's the beginning of their second blessing. Then of course time goes, then naturally they have their children. So this is another level of the four-position foundation here. Okay, we call this kind of four-position foundation developmental four-position foundation, because they develop, they produce different things. They produce a different entity, This doesn't produce a different entity, but this one produces a different entity, different kind of four-position foundation, right? These things happening, in God's direct dominion. Another diagram, they become a husband and wife. Then after that, they bear child, those are four-position foundation anyway, right? Then more child, then a grandbaby, grandbaby, and become a nation and world, right? So we call this the second blessing. But the beginning point is this original Trinity, God and Adam and Eve. So when they establish this original Trinity, when they got married, then when they consummated, the physically, spiritually united, centering on God, then that is the moment that God start living with them, right? That is the establishment of the original Trinity. Yeah? So marriage is the key. Marriage is very important. Okay, a little bit more. You don't have much time. God's direct dominion and marriage. Right? Then, the realm of God's direct dominion is where Adam and Eve can join together in love. Yeah. while the realm of indirect dominion is the realm in which their portion of responsibility has yet to be completed. Thus, once they have fulfilled their responsibility, that is, after Adam and Eve have become husband and wife, centered on love, God becomes the internal parent and Adam and Eve become the external parents. At that point, when God and Adam and Eve become one inside and out, the realm of God's direct dominion is established for the first time, right? Then the realm of God's direct dominion is established for the first time. That is why marriage is absolutely necessary. Okay? No one can enter the realm of God's direct dominion as a single person. So that's a kind of clear. That's a good. This is a Chonsongyeon. Read the Chonsongyeon. Okay, another word, another father's word. You did not realize that a man's perfection is important. You did not realize that a man's perfection is impossible without the woman. A man and the woman are each half of one being that is only completed when they serve each other. The two become one and live for each other, and thus return God's grace, and they become the object partner of God's love. Right. So this is nice English translation, but actually in the original Korean word, when they become one, right? Those two become one and live for each other as a husband and a wife. They would be qualified to be their God's third object of love. So that means like they are qualified to return their amazing love to God. So that's what your father wanted to say. When man and woman got together, then they are completely new level of the God's object of love, right? Yeah. So this is the reason that the woman brings perfection to the man brings perfection to the woman, and love of the two of them brings perfection to God's love. So now even the perfection of God's love, Father is talking about that here. All right, so now I'm talking about how marriage is amazing. Let's go. All right, so another one. When the true son and the true daughter join in union for the first time, okay, husband and wife join in union for the first time, okay, after the marriage, first night, centering on true parents, the horizontal love between a man and a woman and the vertical God come together. So, God said when man and woman become one, then the God comes down from heaven, then they meet, those three meet at one point, right? So that is a marriage. Okay, this is a historic point, fountain of explosive love. Okay, another one. The place where Adam and Eve are harmonized perfectly, consummating their first love by marrying under the blessing of God is precisely the place where God meets his substantial bride. So now, Eve is the God's substantial bride. This is because God's idea of absolute love descends vertically and joins where the idea of conjugal love between Adam and Eve is realized horizontally. Right? So when Adam and Eve become one, then God come there, right? God comes right there. That's how their life in God's direct dominion start. Okay? Right? So in this way, in this way, the true love of God and the true love of humankind join in perfect communion at single point. Right. This is in the True Parents, a very famous speech. Maybe like if you are old, you know read this one many times. Okay. So, all right. What is this? Yeah. This is the end. Yeah. So that's how marriage is amazing. You know, that's that the marriage is the key, right? That if Adam and Eve reach their perfection, then when they get married, right? Then they are all after that they are in the God's direct dominion. That's why establishment of their right of parents, establishment of their right of king is basically is their automatic. You know, of course, like they do things, but they are doing everything together with God. Okay, so that's a turning point. You know, when they are growing in the direct dominion, there was a chance that Adam and Eve could deviate, you know, because, you know, God is not completely with them. They have their own portion of responsibility, which God can never intervene, right, interfere, right? But that kind of period would end when they reached the perfection and they got married. After that, Adam and Eve was always with God, you know, do everything together with God, right? So that's why marriage is very special, right? So restoration of that God-centered marriage is basically the key of their restoration. You know, the false marriage was the fall of man. Okay, that's why true parents need to indemnify that God-centered marriage here. Now, 2003. So this is their marriage that Adam and Eve was originally had. You know, that's as I said here, you know, there was no God. I mean, God was there with them, but you know, God was not sitting on his original throne. Satan was sitting on the God's place in here. But here, right, 2001, true parents did the coronation ceremony of God's kingship. You know, true parents brought God in to his original position, right? So God is in his original throne here. So centering on God, that God, and you know, as you may know, the Satan surrendered to true parents already, right? That means original Garden of Eden. God is there, no Satan. Then Adam and Eve, perfected Adam and Eve, got married, right? So that kind of marriage is there. However, because Satan took those areas too after Adam and Eve fell, that's why true parents had to go through more indemnity costs to restore these. Then after they restore everything, then basically the restoration course ended or completed here. They declared their restoration indemnity course of restoration is completed, ended, right? So then what they are talking about now here, you know, you can go back to the Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden even before the commandment, before the God's commandment. Okay, before God told them not to eat the fruit. So that means God did not worry anything. You know, looking at Adam and Eve with happiness and joy, then Adam and Eve grow and get blessed. You know, that kind of like a state, right? Because all the indemnity cost was fulfilled. Okay, so anyway, so the one thing I wanted to tell you today is how marriage is important, and that is the key. That's why when we look at the true parents course, the key event of the true parents course is those marriage. Yeah. So okay, therefore we are going to look at this one next few times, bit by bit. I don't know how many times we need, but go through this one. Okay. All right. Thank you. I think that is it today. Okay.